Hi, I'm Travis, and this is How to Survival. Today I'm going to be talking about pocket survival kits, so stay tuned. Protests and violent crimes across the U.S., terrorist attacks across the world, and that's not even considering natural disasters. Hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, even something as common as adventure disaster, getting lost or injured in the woods. The best survival tools are the ones you have on you in a survival situation. So if that's a broken cell phone, a soggy wallet, and half a pack of cigarettes, that's your survival kit. That's why the first kind of survival kit I'm going to be talking about is the pocket survival kit. These small, well-rounded survival kits can be bought pre-made at a store or made at home with things you have around the house. An effective pocket survival kit should be thrown in your pocket every day by habit with your keys, phone, and wallet. But the contents of it should be indispensable in a disaster. Whatever you choose to put in your survival kit is going to be completely determined by you and your experience and or abilities. For example, if you have the extremely rare ability to breathe fire, you're not going to be packing any matches or lighters. On the other hand, if you're diabetic, you're probably going to want to carry insulin. It all depends on what you can use and what you can do without. What I choose to do with my survival kit is to find the right size container that's going to meet my mobility needs, so I won't notice it in my pocket while I'm at work. It's not going to be in my way, but I can run with it during a disaster. And then I fill it with C's of Survival. That's cutting tool, combustion, cover, container, and cordage. A cutting tool obviously being a knife, or in the case of a pocket survival kit, maybe even a razor blade. Combustion, because unfortunately I can't breathe fire yet, matches or a lighter. Cover, like a tent, a tarp. I consider cover anything from your clothes to a blanket. And cordage, which is really difficult to recreate in the wild. Yes, it can be done. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just very tough when just carrying paracord is so much easier. My pocket survival kit that I made is about a 1/4 inch thick, 2 inches wide, 3 inches tall. I made it from a discarded pH test strip container. I wrapped duct tape around it, bright orange, once around, and then about 3 feet of camo duct tape over that in the event that I don't want to be found, whereas the orange would be in case I need to be found. I can put it on something, maybe my shelter or as a flag on a stick or something. Now the duct tape can also come off and help me build a shelter, patch a wound, fix clothing. Now this is really difficult to open, but that's kind of how I want it. I don't want to use all the items in my container in the event of maybe somebody needs a cigarette lit and then I go through all my matches or something like that. So I want it to be difficult to open actually, but I also have the area that would have originally dispensed the pH test strips to have my matches and cordage right there. Inside I also have a small, very compact, very thin Swiss Army knife. It's only got a knife and scissors, but that's what keeps it so small, and it's actually able to fit in here, whereas most cannot. I have a few dozen pocket knives like that. I got them at a flea market in bulk, so I have a ton of them. But only 2 out of all the ones that I have will actually fit in a container this small, so I was very lucky to find that. That's my cutting tool. 4 strike anywhere matches. And I think it's important that they're strike anywhere matches because although you can cut off the striker of a regular match box and slide it in there, it's just the extra thing you don't need to do if you just get the strike anywhere ones, and I have like 200-300 count boxes of these things at home. That's my combustion, obviously. I've got about 5 feet of paracord. Actually, I think it's fire cord because it's got that bright orange tip on it, which is supposed to be able to catch a spark or an ember, but I don't know that for a fact because I got it at an Army surplus store, and it wasn't labeled as fire cord. It was in with the paracord. They just said, oh, well, it could be because it's got the orange strip, but we can't sell it like that because we don't know for sure, so I got it for a regular paracord price. Maybe in a later episode I'll try lighting it and we can find out either how well fire cord lights or if this is fire cord at all. That's my cordage. I have 4 water purifying tablets because 4 tablets will purify 2 liters of water, which is the largest size container that I'm likely to find in a survival situation because garbage is everywhere and this container is just too small to hold any kind of water. Any pocket survival kit would be. You may have noticed that I'm lacking some of the C's of Survival. Well, I can't fit any kind of cover in this, and although they do make Mylar blankets, which are, I would consider a decent form of cover because you can build a shelter with it, you can wrap it around you for sleeping, what have you, but they're a little bit bigger, not uncomfortable, but if you're going to add other things to that, it can be, and I just didn't want to go that route. Carrying a large enough container to fit a Mylar blanket would make the container too big for my comfortable sitting, standing, or running rule. But I do consider clothing a form of cover. But considering the size of the container, I think I did quite well. Let me know what you think. Let me hear about your pocket survival kits or any ideas you may have. Now I'm going to compare my survival kit with some store-bought survival kits. I couldn't find survival in a can, but I think that one's been debunked enough times in other YouTube videos. This is a watertight survival kit by UTS. It's got shelter in there. It includes a button compass, survival blanket, 4-inch light stick. I'm not sure if that's a flashlight. Oh, I think that's a glow stick. And a survival towel. That sounds important. There it is. And that is, for me, way too big for my pocket anyway, because it's watertight, it's plastic. I like the watertight idea, but if I sit on that enough times, it's not going to stay watertight. It's bright orange. It's got paracord on the outside that I don't think was listed in here. It's got a carabiner on it, so you can clip it onto a bug out bag, which would defeat the purpose. Personally, I would like it to come in camo and be a lot smaller. But let's look at the contents. Alright, my pocket survival doesn't have a compass. I don't know if I want to sacrifice paracord for a compass. You know, it's navigation versus the ability to carry more things if you tie them together, build a shelter. I don't know, there's a lot that you can do with paracord that not a lot you can do with a compass. There it is. This is the survival towel. That's a cool idea. It's one of those, you know, just add water things where it expands. Then you got to worry about carrying it around. But hey, in a survival situation, you're not going to be carrying all those bandanas you have on your bug out bag, right? There it is, UTS. That's the size. It's pretty small. This is one of those Mylar blankets I was telling you about. See that? And they didn't mention it comes with a Ziploc bag, which they should have. I don't know. It's an extra container. Well, maybe not. I don't know. You decide. But it's an extra container, so I think it's noteworthy. They didn't mention it. See how big it gets. Now look how big these things get. Good luck putting it away, though. Okay, that's big enough. I mean, for some applications, it would make a really rinky-dink shelter, but if you need to wrap it around you, it works. It'd make a fine blanket, which is what it's labeled to be. Shelter, that's going to depend on your ability to make it, what you have around to make it with. Aside from that, like what you're going to tie it to or lean it against or hang it by, what have you. But I think it's kind of too small on the width side because it's a blanket, which means it's only got to be about that wide. I love this container though. I think I'm actually going to make a cache out of this. Store some kind of food or some extra paracord. Bury it in the ground because you never know. If you have a bug out location that you're trying to get to, someone could beat you there. But if you have one of these buried in the ground and it's waterproof, at least you can go there. It's got a much lower chance of anybody having found it. This is the light stick, non-flammable, provides hours of soft glow light, weatherproof, great for camping, hiking, and other nighttime outdoor activities. And then I show you so you can read it all over again. Also, it's green. That's important. Yep. Glow stick. On a string. So they got extra cordage here. Not tied to the string, just on it. But, glow sticks are cool. They'll certainly give you light. Not a lot of it. Soft light for sure. You're not going to be able to be looking around finding stuff with a glow stick. Also, it doesn't turn off, so if you're in the kind of disaster situation, say like an invasion or a civil unrest of some kind, once this is on, it doesn't turn off and it can give away your location. That depends on the kind of disaster you may or may not expect. On the other hand, with a glow stick, you can actually cut these things open if you have a knife, which the kit doesn't come with. And you can smear that glow stuff around. I don't know if it's a carcinogen or something, but I've seen somebody put it on a t-shirt. It was kind of cool, but also it makes them more visible if they do need to be found, rather than just having this one focused point. The string is definitely a noteworthy point. That's another thing they should have mentioned, because paracord's got a lot of uses. It's also pretty strong. It's got internal strands, but you wouldn't want to use that before you use this, because this doesn't. It's not as strong, but if you need to tie something, like build a shelter with your Mylar blanket, this will definitely do it. It doesn't need to hold any kind of weight or anything to get that job done. It just needs to be tied, so you don't want to waste your paracord on something as mundane a task as that. But yeah, I like the container in it, at least. My wife tells me it can come from Dollar Tree or Harbor Freight or other cheaper stores separate. I don't know about the container. That I think is worth it, but I don't know if it's worth the $5 to $10 I paid for it. Also, it comes with a length of cord. I'm not going to find out how much because I don't care enough. And it's not paracord anyway. It's like shoelace stuff. It's hollow. It's got the detached thing, so it's obviously meant to go around your neck in case you're, you'd be lucky to have something like this around your neck during most survival situations that I can think of, which are usually unexpected. The next one I want to talk about is Bear Grylls survival. This, I believe, was about $15 to $20 at Walmart, so it was pretty easy to get a hold of. Bear Grylls, so you've got his experience going into it. If you're a Bear Grylls fan, if you're not, just judge it by the contents. I like this because there's a lot of information to it. Like, even on the front, you can see da 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 da, blah blah blah. Normal advertising stuff. But on the back, you get all this handy dandy info stuff. Now, I'm not really sure how to translate this. If that's like trying to flag down a plane if they're looking at you or something like that. Before I go inside, I want to mention that this is bright orange, so this is obviously a rescue kind of survival kit, not a disaster preparedness have on you kind of survival kit. Otherwise, I would recommend it be in camo. It's smaller and fits in your pocket a little more easily, not as easily as mine, of course, but mine's tiny, doesn't have a ton of stuff in it, and is comfortable standing. I think it'd be comfortable running, sitting, I don't know. But it's not bad. It's not bad, that's for sure. Got a zipper on it. I don't know. It's not waterproof, but it comes with a waterproof Ziploc bag. Here's the wrapper. Tells you all the stuff in it right there. You can go ahead and pause that and read it at your leisure. Let's see what the quality of this stuff is really like. Cool. Alright, so it's got some copper wire in case you find some electrical component and you're super savvy with that sort of thing, and maybe you can fix it or use it or make a fire using it. If you're not super savvy, you can make a snare out of this kind of stuff. Although I suppose you have to be super savvy at that. I'm not sure how much is there, but you can estimate. I don't want to unroll it because I might put this in my survival kit just because it's so small and lightweight. Why not? This is what they've got for cord. Doesn't tell you how much cord is here, but it's definitely not paracord. It's some weak, flimsy stuff. The absence of a cord would be a lot more noticeable. But if you get this kit, I would replace this with paracord, just because if you're watching this video, you probably have paracord, and it's not that hard to do. We have a sewing kit here. No medical supplies, so I wouldn't recommend using it for a suture, although if you needed to be sutured, you're going to take the chances anyway, because that's kind of an extreme situation. A couple buttons, a safety pin, 4 different colors of string, red, black, white, and gray. You can use it to repair the bag it comes in or your clothes. It's nice and small though, I do like that. That can fit anywhere. That's this I like for an experienced person. I do not like for the inexperienced person that would need a pre-made survival kit. Is a striker. Of course, a little extra cordage.
Are you bleeding? No more.
This appears to be like a bottle opener or can opener of some kind, but then it's kind of funny angled for that. There's no instructions to it. I like this little knife. Any pocket survival kit should definitely, any survival kit should have some kind of a knife, but this one's got those perforations there, making it lighter weight, but still strong. And it does feel decent quality for a flip knife. It's made by Gerber. It comes decently sharp. It's half blade, half serrations. In case you need to cut rope, the serrations are better for that. A survival whistle in a Ziploc bag that I don't think was mentioned. Because this is the waterproof bag they mentioned on the back. It's loud enough, I think. Ooh, there it goes. Wonder why that's so difficult. Oh well, whistle. String. I don't think it mentions string. It mentions the cordage and the wire and the sewing kit, but it doesn't mention the string. This is really small stuff, so if you're in the woods for a long time, you can use this for a floss. There's so much of it spooled up into this tiny size. It's not bad. You can also use this for a snare, of course. You can also use it to tie things, like for making a shelter, blah, 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 blah. This is that. Cotton ball. Cotton balls catch flame really easily. In certain situations, in a lot of situations, it's kind of hard to find really catch a spark kind of tinder. They're out there, don't get me wrong. I mean, milkweed, some things that go to seed are really good. In the fall, you'll probably find more, but that doesn't mean you're gonna find some in a survival situation. And if you don't, it's not bad to have at least one cotton ball on you. This is by far my favorite addition to this particular kit. It's paper, so yeah, it can burn, but it's got a much higher value than that. It's got information. Now, if you're in a kind of survival situation where you know what you're doing, you just happen to have this on hand, and so you have your shelter, you have water, and you found a food source nearby, then there's going to be a lot of either tool making, navigating, or sitting around at night waiting to be tired enough to go to bed, that sort of thing. And that sitting around part is what drives people crazy. Having some form of literature, it helps. It's a major benefit. And this has all kinds of stuff on it. Educational stuff. Knots, fire, bow drill, fire saw, and car battery. I guess we know what the copper wire is for. Different kinds of shelters are on here. Location, signaling, navigation, water sources, collection and purification, food preparation, scavenging, alternate options. What's an alternate food source? Oh, they're talking about fishing and stuff. I thought they were talking about eating people if necessary. But yeah, I think for the price, it's not a bad one. If you want to make your own, totally go for it, because that's going to be more customized to your needs. But if you don't have the know-how or experience to make your own survival kit, and you do choose to buy one, that one's a lot better than this cheaper one over here. I guess you get what you pay for. I don't know how much the survival in a can is, but I'm pretty sure that one's crappy, so it should be pretty cheap. Other containers you could use, a Ziploc bag would be small enough and malleable enough to fit a lot of items or a few items depending on what you need. That way you can have a larger container source for maybe carrying water and fewer things in it. An Altoids container, people know, oh yeah, you can use an Altoid container for charred cloth. Well, that's great. You can also use it as a pocket survival kit. Win-win. A Tic Tac container is really small. You can't fit a ton into it, but I've seen some pretty clever people making some pretty amazing stuff. So, I mean, you're YouTube watchers. You come up with these awesome ideas. So, I would love to see in the comments below what you decide to use. That was my video on pocket survival kits. If you enjoyed it, by all means, subscribe. If you like this video, hit the like button and tune in next time on How to Survival.